Amplify is back. Don't miss the chance to improve every part of your business by connecting with industry experts, hearing best practices from top dealerships, and learning how to optimize your system for profitability at every turn. You don't want to miss the Amplify experience that is designed to help your dealership improve.
Welcome to Daily Drive for Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. I'm Jamie Butters, Executive Editor of Automotive News here in Detroit.
And I'm Kellen Walker in Las Vegas. Today on the show, China eases some rare earth approvals for the EU. You know who has a stockpile of rare earth minerals? Hyundai. And Toyota and Daimler merged their truck divisions into a new powerhouse. Plus, Dean Evans, co-founder of rare earth recycling company Evolution Metals and Technologies, joins the show to talk about the bottleneck in China and what his company is seeing as a result.
I'd like to say if it moves, it's got a magnet behind it.
Let's run through all the news you need to know to keep up in the auto industry.
China is willing to fast-track and accelerate approval of rare earth exports to eligible users in the European Union. That's according to China's Minister of Commerce, Wang Wentao. He delivered the message to the European Commissioner for Trade and Economic Security at a meeting in Paris a week ago, according to a recent release. The ministry said officials held a professional and in-depth discussion about resolving disputes over the EU's anti-subsidy tariffs on China-made electric vehicles. It called the discussions, quote, a big step forward.
Meanwhile, Hyundai has a rare earth stockpile that could last about a year. That's according to a Reuters report citing a person who attended a company investor call. The source says Hyundai does not expect any near-term impact from global supply chain disruptions caused by China's export curbs. The stockpiling by Hyundai, along with its affiliate Kia, indicates it is better placed than many competitors to withstand the restrictions. It has already affected production or the supplier network of companies, including Ford and BMW.
After an unprecedented 4 terms running the Japan Automobile Manufacturers Association, Akio Toyoda will return to lead the country's critical car industry at the helm of an even bigger umbrella group tasked with rekindling Japanese competitiveness and car culture. Toyoda has been appointed chairman of the Automobile Business Association of Japan. In his new leadership post, the Toyota Motor chairman will be the frontman for one of the world's biggest automotive and manufacturing industries during a time of unprecedented change and upheaval. His mission, as he put it, to make cars part of Japanese culture. With Toyota as its face, the group says its goal is a more unified front in dealing with policy and regulation.
And 2 years after first announcing the deal, Toyota and Daimler Truck have finally agreed on a way to merge their Japanese commercial vehicle units. They say the result will be a new global truck powerhouse to contend with the mounting pressures of new technologies and competition. Toyota and Daimler announced plans in May 2023 to merge Toyota's troubled truck-making subsidiary Hino Motors and Daimler-owned rival Mitsubishi Fuso. At the time, the companies had hope for a definitive agreement in the first quarter of 2024, but negotiations dragged on as Hino dealt with the fallout of an emissions and fuel economy testing scandal. Today, Toyota and Daimler announced they have reached a definitive agreement on merging the truck makers. The Daimler side said Hino had sufficiently resolved its issues, clearing the way to move ahead. And those are today's headlines. So, Jamie, China eases some rare earth approvals for the EU. Is this the much needed relief for European suppliers?
Maybe. It's actions over words when it comes to China. And it's nice that they're there saying that they are going to allow this. Clearly, the beef is more with the U.S. That started the trade war. But, China's tightened restrictions have really hurt a lot of players around the globe. They're saying they're going to supply Europe, and maybe they will. But it's not like China made an announcement that they were going to constrict the supply of rare earth minerals and rare earth magnets to the world. They just kind of started doing it. So we'll see what they actually do. I guess it's a nice gesture of words. We'll see if the actions follow through.
Gotcha. Coming up, Evolution Metals and Technologies co founder Dean Evans joins the show to talk about how his rare earth recycling company is viewing the Chinese bottleneck. That's next on Daily Drive.
The 2025 Automotive Golf Classic is coming up soon, raising funds for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Southeastern Michigan. Players will tee off Monday, June 16th at St. John's Resort in Plymouth, Michigan.
Attendees will get exclusive access to the third annual Automotive News Supplier Panel discussion just prior to tee time at 9 a.m. This year's remarks will feature Paul Thomas, president of Bosch North America, along with Colin Shaw, president of MEMA Original Equipment Suppliers. The executive guests will discuss challenges for suppliers stemming from the current trade landscape, new U.S. tariffs, and other critical issues facing the supply chain.
For more information about this event, reach out to Tiffany Sula at the Boys and Girls Clubs at tsula@bgcsm.org or to Philip Nussel, AGC Executive Chairman at pnussel@crane.com.
Amplify 2025 is right around the corner. Are you ready? Join the industry's leading innovators this August 18th and 19th at the Ritz-Carlton Dallas Las Colinas and be part of the event that will reshape retail automotive. At this 2-day experience, you'll explore new strategies and fresh ideas for driving real growth at your dealership. Choose from 9 hands-on workshops, each designed to deliver practical insights across every department. Gain forward-thinking perspectives during our expert-led keynote session and leave with actionable takeaways to implement right away. And it's not all business. Amplify also gives you the chance to connect with fellow professionals on the greens at TPC Las Colinas, the iconic course that hosted the PGA Tour's Byron Nelson Championship for 35 years. Secure your spot at Amplify 2025 today by visiting rayrey.com/amplify. That's rey.com/amplify today.
Welcome back to Daily Drive. I'm Jamie Butters with Kellen Walker. Experts and executives worry the Chinese rare earth materials bottleneck could be the third and latest supply chain crisis the auto industry has faced in half a decade. But one new company hopes to be part of the solution here in the U.S. Evolution Metals and Technologies is a critical minerals recycling startup based in St. Louis. Dean Evans, the former chief marketing officer for Hyundai Motor America, is one of the company's co-founders. He joins me now to talk about the situation and Evolution's story from his home office in South Dakota. Dean Evans, welcome to Daily Drive.
Hi, Jamie. Nice to be on.
So good to see you. I feel like there are a lot of people out there reading the news and saying to themselves, rare earth magnets? Who knew? But I mean, you knew. You've been working on this. Of course, you've been working toward the launch of Evolution as a rare earth magnet recycling company to address the imbalance in production and processing of these, minerals, for magnets that are needed in so many modern products, cars, jets, smartphones, refrigerators. How did you get into this interest? How did this become a thing from a guy who used to, help sell Hyundais?
I'm part of a set of colleagues that have been on a mission. The chairman of our company for 10 years has been pulling together a vision that has been what we are seeing, unfortunately, today, which is a dynamic where China has had a firm grip on rare earth and not the supply of it necessarily, but the production and magnets. And so they came to me about 2 years ago and said, the auto industry is really one of the core industries that are affected. Are you interested in helping the cause? And I'm like, I am very interested in helping the cause because, like you said, we can't build a lot of anything as an industrial country without a magnet, a chip, and a battery. And so the batteries for me had gotten all the headlines, and the poor little magnet needed some headlines, to be brought out, I think, as another critical component. And we're seeing it today, but that's really how I got interested in it and how I got involved in where we are today there.
Yeah, that's interesting because, under the previous administration, a lot of efforts on computer chips and getting, domestic production of chips again, a lot of investment, a lot of federal support for EV batteries and hybrid batteries, all kinds of, high-end batteries, but very little talk about magnets. Why are they so important?
Well, I'd like to say if it moves, it's got a magnet behind it. And, and sometimes the EVs get a lot of the headlines there too, because, the motors, the main powertrain mechanism of an EV is a bunch of high powered, high energy magnets that move those cars. The batteries get all the headlines because they're the big asset cost, but those are really important too. And that has really brought up the production of magnets globally, that classification of product. But you have drones, you have more military goods, you have a whole bunch of components that are moving the magnet importance up all on its own because of our engineering innovation and what we're doing today. The robots are another example, Opus robots, and everything Elon does, for example, is all magnet driven today. So, those are the things I think now that are headlining for us with what's going on around us. And so it's getting more awareness, but that's really what they do.
At the risk of dumbing things down, I think because we have all sorts of folks from the industry listening in. Some of them are engineers, but some of them are just trying to sell cars and all this. The magnets that we're talking about here, they're not the same as a magnet on your refrigerator that just holds something together, right? There's some similarities, but there's key differences.
Yes, they're centered and bonded. Both are two different categories of magnets. But yes, some are built for, like we were saying, the EVs. Some are built for the refrigerators, though. And some of what's on the refrigerator is also in a car, too. And so there's some crossover, definitely. And I'm not a magnet expert per se. But yeah, they can go from all ranges. And, I'm the one that holds up sometimes the ones that go on a magnet just to kind of show folks our business model is, a magnet could be on a fridge all the way to where they come from, which is recycling these phones to make the magnets or what's in the cars. And so that's really our business model. And the output on that is magnets of all different shapes and sizes. Usually our companies are supplying to tier 2 subcomponent companies, which kind of design the magnets how they need it. And then we supply it to their design. And that can go in many, many, many different types.
And so at the tier 2, they're going into actuators that might go into a window unit or a windshield wiper unit or something that then gets sold to a tier 1 and packaged up into a bigger module for car auto assembly.
Absolutely. Yes. I really applaud the supply chiefs right now. I used to think for the marketing folks are the ones that always were on the hot seat, right? Give me the best creative. Oh, no. The hot seat right now is the supply chief. And it's been like that really, I think, since the chip shortage, right? The combination now, the depth that now a manufacturer needs to go to understand is, at depths we've never used to. Usually they just needed to know where that subassembly came from. Now they really need to know where the subassembly company is getting all their at least critical components. So it's made the job, and this isn't just over the last few weeks. I think they got their chops of understanding during the chip shortage. So they know how to go deeper and wider when they need to help those suppliers in those cases. So the supplier gets helped and they don't have to stop production, which is what you're seeing a little here, because it's definitely a mad rush to who's got the magnets, who's got the sub assemblies right now. And I feel for everybody, and they're doing a dang good job without a doubt. So yeah, that's a little bit about what's going on there.
Well, so 90+% of the rare earth magnets get processed in China, and they're restricting the outflow. What's happening to the price of magnets? Is it through the roof?
Yes, the dynamic, I think, is going to stay very volatile. Part of the dynamic is, China still has a lot of supply. They still have a control over a supply and demand mechanism when you have 90%, and you definitely have an inventory behind that production. So I think that's why the markets still understand that. And China, as I understand it, you have to now, with the rare earth magnets, you have to have, there's an application process that wasn't there before. Some people have received magnets, others have not. And so you have that dynamic also underlying. So it's not like nobody's getting magnets. There are. It's just a little bit of a patchwork globally, either strategically or operationally, from the Chinese now with this new setup.
That's got to make people anxious.
Yes.
So what's the state of recycling? I feel like a lot of this is a pretty recent development. Obviously, it's been growing over time. But I mean, is there a large availability of recyclable materials and assets to do the work?
Yeah, to me, that's what's a really beautiful part about what we're going through now in the learning, in what we're doing for domestic supply. You go back to, it's not really, like we said, the supply of the rare earths. It's really the processing and making it into an oxide that is really the Chinese stronghold. And it's not just having a magnet producing company, like there's magnet producing companies in the United States. The point is, they've got to go to China to get the oxide that's ready to go into the magnets, so to speak. So there is that bottleneck that sometimes needs to have a little more clarification, I think, in the industry as people are learning this. But that ties into this supply, this feedstock. One of the ways we're unlocking some of the dependence of China is, for starters, instead of going and finding a mine to pull out the rare earth and going through a radioactive process in a lot of cases to get, we see, and we have technology in one of our companies as an expert at recycling and then getting that to oxide and then getting that to magnet production. It's very green that way because obviously we're taking something out of already being produced, and there's no radiation in that process now like there is usually when you're in the mine, and that's the front end of your process to make the oxide to go to magnet. So we're really different in that way, that we're very green because our business plan has us doing EV battery recycling like a Redwood. But we also have a lot of intent on consumer electronics, since the United States has 4 times per capita this electronic personal productivity tool / waste, if it gets too old, 4 times that of China per capita. So we've been using these a lot, and we've been taught that every 2-3 years, it's time for a new one because of technology advancements, software, whatnot. And our US government is also a massive source because they've been sitting on their supply for most cases since they were built because of data security. So the point is, we can unlock a lot of our own solutions right from under our noses with the right collaboration of technology, people, and money, which is really all we're doing at Evolution. And so that front end for us is different. We will help then imbalance the China's not the only ones with oxides. For example, one of our companies and one of our executives and set of executives know this oxide process. So it's not now only China. So we have some very powerful IP as well, both human and, how it actually is manufactured and recycled. It is a chemistry experiment and process.
Yeah, on an industrial scale. Can you
Yes.
describe a little the evolution story and how it's coming together?
Yes. I was saying a little bit earlier, we have a chairman that's been for 10 years thinking this is what's going to happen. How do we help America? The last 2 years, he's rounded out a few of us, and been working really to bring these companies together to get them ready to do what we call the S4 filing with the SEC. That was very complicated for us. We have a very complicated model, meaning no one's ever brought in a SPAC platform 6 companies all at once from a global perspective rolled up on the NASDAQ. So that's a full court press of all new. So that has taken us some time, and it's taken some energy and effort from a lot of great people and a lot of great partners. And so we've been now working towards something called the SEC effective stage, which is where the SEC says, okay, this is all really good. This has all been verified. These are exactly what they're saying it is. And now we're really in the fundraising round. I love that we're in the fundraising round. I have to say, at a time when it's the headlines, and that wasn't
perfect timing.
And yes, of course, we have perfect timing. Some people will laugh when they hear that. We've been really just hurrying, and it just happens that these things kind of are happening. We have good relationships with the Trump administration. Some of this is also planned. But in the other case, we're really excited about the timing, and we're really close now to be able to capitalize and really get back to, helping and get magnets at scale, because now all we're working on now is the scale story to really help supply our current customers and then bring on more customers, hopefully here in the near future.
I know reindustrialization, renationalization of some of this is really important, and what you're building in Missouri. But I think you've told the story before, but I mean, General Motors, was really foundational in this technology. It really started here in the U.S.
Yeah, that's what's great news about it too. We were the industrial leaders. We were the ones. General Motors invented the neodymium magnet and realized, wow, when you can put these kind of materials together, it builds a field that really helps move things, like we said earlier. Back in the 90s, there was companies going through, if it's not a critical part of your business, then you really spin that off. And so GM spun the company off. Magnet-Crunch, and the Chinese purchased that. Now that company is the largest magnet producer in the world today, but it came here, and we're part of a bunch of people that are bringing it back now.
Well, it's an exciting development, and definitely in the right place at the right time. And I appreciate you, sharing your insights with our audience. Dean Evans, co-founder of Evolution Materials and Technologies. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jamie.
That's Daily Drive for today. I'm Jamie Butters.
And I'm Kellen Walker. Thanks to Automotive News executive producer Jake Neer, as well as our own Yang Jiang and Hans Greimel for their reporting for today's podcast. You can get the latest news on the rare earth mineral shortage, tariffs, and everything happening in the auto industry at autonews.com.
We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of the show and the topics we covered today. Send us an email at dailydrive@autonews.com or leave us a voicemail at 313-444-2774. And if you enjoy the podcast, remember to leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.